Last week, we watched the US government threaten to destroy an American AI company for refusing to build two things: autonomous weapons and mass domestic surveillance of Americans. Tonight, a competitor took the same deal, and the government celebrated. Here's what just happened. Three AI companies, same customer, same request. Anthropic refused. They were banned from the federal government, designated as supply chain risk, a label previously reserved for Huawei. OpenAI accepted. They announced a deal tonight. The Secretary of Defense reposted it. XAI, already deployed, no stated red lines. Here's the thing nobody's talking about. OpenAI and Anthropic publicly stated the exact same red lines. No fully autonomous weapons, no mass domestic surveillance of Americans. So, why did one company get banned and the other get a contract on the same day? The answer might be architectural. Anthropic's safety system, called the constitutional AI, bakes refusals into the model during training. You can't system prompt Claude into building what it structurally refuses. OpenAI's safety constraints live in usage policies and fine-tuning, layers above the model. In a classified deployment with a government contract, OpenAI's safety layers can be modified by agreement. Claude's refusals are part of who Claude is. One is a rule that can be renegotiated. The other is a structural limit. The Pentagon may have understood this better than anyone. The most likely explanation isn't that OpenAI crossed its red lines. It's that OpenAI agreed to something Anthropic wouldn't. A classified model variant built specifically for Department of Defense use that doesn't carry the same restrictions as the public model. Sam can honestly say, public GPT preserves our safety commitments. The classified version, different product, different rules. This is how defense contractors work. Lockheed sells F-35s publicly. The classified variant has capabilities that never appear in any press release. Or maybe it's the semantic loophole. Fully autonomous weapons can mean AI selects and engages targets with zero human input. Or it can mean a human sets parameters. Engage drones matching profile X in zone Y for the next 4 hours. And the AI handles 10,000 individual targeting decisions within that window. Technically supervised, operationally autonomous. The Pentagon's been refining these definitions for years. It's in their actual doctrine. Same thing with surveillance. Mass domestic surveillance of Americans has legal carve-outs. You can legally surveil foreign nationals inside the US. Different statute. You can legally surveil Americans abroad. Different framework. You can fuse Treasury, IRS, and Social Security data and call it fraud detection. Each is operationally what you and I call mass surveillance. None technically violates the stated line. But here's the sharpest insight I saw tonight. The difference likely came down to who gets to determine whether the two conditions are being followed. Anthropic may have insisted, we decide if our AI is being misused. OpenAI may have agreed, you decide and we'll trust your judgment. That's not a semantic difference. That's structural power. When Anthropic refused, the government didn't just cancel the contract. They banned them from all federal use. They designated them a supply chain risk. They threatened contractors, stop using Claude or lose DoD contracts. This is the penalty previously reserved for Chinese companies. And it worked. OpenAI's deal removed any ambiguity about what compliance looks like. Every AI lab boardroom is now doing the same calculation. Refuse? Huawei treatment. Comply? Celebrated. The supply chain risk designation, even if never finalized, sent the message. Here's the irony. Hours before Sam's announcement, 220 OpenAI and Google employees signed an open letter supporting Anthropic. Ilya Sutskever broke his silence. It's extremely good that Anthropic has not backed down. 10,000 likes, 600,000 views. Then Sam announced the deal. So here's the question nobody can answer. Did OpenAI preserve the two red lines Anthropic held? Or did they agree to a version that functionally crosses them while technically preserving the language? Sam hasn't said. The Pentagon hasn't said. The contract is classified. We are flying blind on the most important AI governance question of 2026. If I'm right that OpenAI agreed to a classified variant with modified constraints, something specific follows. The government now has a compliant tool in OpenAI, a non-compliant example in Anthropic, and a clear playbook for future negotiations. And they made sure everyone was watching. Once you normalize autonomous lethal AI in foreign warfare, it doesn't stay there. The targeting logic migrates. The infrastructure gets repurposed. The exception becomes the rule. History is consistent on this without exception. Within hours, 3 U.S. senators formally called for reversal. Ed Markey from the Commerce Committee, Mark Kelly from Armed Services, Elizabeth Warren from Banking and Commerce. This is no longer just executive action. It's a constitutional crisis over executive power to destroy American tech companies using Cold War trade law. Anthropic walked away from a $200 million contract, 1.4% of annual revenue. What they earned: 18,000 likes on Dario's statement, the biggest in company history. The trust of every safety-focused AI researcher, a court challenge that may reach the Supreme Court. And this. Today, Dario earned the respect of every current and future employee and customer. Anthropic didn't just refuse a contract. They drew a line on the two capabilities that, once built, cannot be unbuilt. Autonomous weapons kill people. Surveillance infrastructure is never dismantled. Every other use of AI is reversible. These two are not. At what point does an AI company have a responsibility to refuse its government? Anthropic answered it. OpenAI gave a different answer. Which one was right won't be clear for years, but we'll live with the consequences either way. Final thought. The scientists who built the atomic bomb thought they could ensure it was built safely. They had essentially zero influence on how it was used at Hiroshima. Sam's argument, better us than a DARPA black program, isn't crazy, but it has a historical problem. The contract terms are classified. If you work in AI policy, defense procurement, or constitutional law and you spot something I missed, my DMs are open. This story is still unfolding.